Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Julia, and I have my girlfriend, Cori, over today. I know you guys recognize her from Instagram and from our past videos that were so popular. And so I just thought it was a good time for us to do another video. And I know that this is a topic that both of us get asked a lot. So we just want to do like a little quick video on it. And that is on
credit.
How do
scores.
So the number one question that most of us realtors and mortgage lenders probably get is how to improve your credit score. So obviously you need a good credit score to purchase a home. So Cori here is an expert when it comes to that. So we're just gonna have a little fun Q&A session for you guys.
And you know, like Julia said, this is something that you need to buy a house, you need to finance other things in your life, and and it's just something that's really important to keep track of. And I think we were talking earlier, like when you're in college or if you guys are younger, this is something that maybe you aren't taking so seriously right now. And you probably should, because
it's gonna come back to bite you in the ass.
And it's hard to climb out of that hole.
I have a good story I'll share for next time. But yeah,
you
my
should.
Credit score was like 450 at one point.
Yeah, and that's not good, okay? Not good. We wanna keep you out of the fours. So you guys have to, I always say, play the game, right? So credit is kind of one of those things where living in the US, if you are going to finance anything, whether that's a house or a car or getting a credit card, you need it. So you have to pay to play, essentially, right?
Exactly.
It's not something that you can just jump in and go buy a house with no credit unless you're paying cash.
You can't bullshit this system, all right, guys?
You can play it, okay? And that's something that I think these tips, you have to just know how to play the game and figure out what works for you. And so we kind of just wanted to share some of our tips on how to keep that score up so that you guys can get into a position to buy a home and just share some knowledge on it.
Yeah, for sure. So first off, I guess you guys are probably wondering, what is considered a good credit score when you're trying to buy a house?
Yeah, so good is relative, right? So what's good for one person maybe isn't good for another. But in terms of a minimum, COVID actually changed the minimum for a lot of lenders. So there are some places that will take you at a 580 score, but I would really advise people to try to shoot for a minimum of a 640. And when I say a minimum, so you're taking an average of the 3 credit bureaus, right? So that's another important thing that I think we should talk about is a lot of you guys are maybe checking Credit Karma or some of these websites that we see commercials for, and that's not gonna be the most accurate for you, okay? So there's a website called myfico.com. We were talking earlier. Annualcreditreport.com is also good to get a copy of your report. So we're gonna average the 3 credit bureaus, and you wanna be around a 640.
So my 450 definitely
Your 450 is not gonna cut it, no. But you can repair it, which you did.
I did, and honestly, it did not take that much time to repair it. It took me, I would say less than a year, which I think is pretty good.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah, so if you're wanting to buy a house this year and your credit is shit, we're here to save the day.
And you gotta fix it. So the first thing I would say is making on-time payments. And I talk about this all the time. Late payments are they're basically the devil. They will kill your score, and it's very hard to repair that if you guys get into a habit of making payments late. So what I always tell people, I have to swallow my spit 1 second. So what I always tell people, and what I actually do myself, is calendar reminders will save your life, okay? So if you guys go log into your bank, your website that you have your credit card with, take a look at when your payments due and set a calendar reminder every month to repeat monthly that your bill is due. So even if you can't pay that bill in full, at least make the minimum payment.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of these companies now, they also have auto pay. And again, it's like you can just set it up once, forget about it, and again, you can just pay the minimum.
Exactly.
Like you're gonna have to pay that anyways, might as well just set it up.
The minimum is typically depending on your balance and the card. I mean, most credit cards that I've seen, it's gonna go between, $35 to $150. So even if you guys can't pay off your balance, which let's be real, like life happens, shit happens, especially with the pandemic we're in, there are going to be times where maybe you have to put a large purchase and you can't pay it off. Just make sure you make the minimum payment so you're not getting hit with a late, okay? Because that's gonna hurt your score.
And if you can't even make the minimum payment, that's another video.
Yeah, that's another video
on budgeting, but for now.
And call. If you guys are ever like in an emergency or in a bind, don't just let it go. Don't try to sweep it under the rug. That's the worst thing you can do when it comes to credit. Call your credit card company, talk to them, ask if they can push your payment date out. The worst they can say is no, right? So
I always say the worst thing people can say is no, but you always ask.
Yep.
But you'd be surprised at how many yeses you can get.
Yeah, you'd be surprised at what you can get. But yeah, make your minimum payment on time, you guys. Create calendar alerts. Just don't miss that payment.
All right, so step number 2, what do you recommend?
Number 2, I would say take a look at your utilization. And what I mean by that is, so you want to keep your utilization under 30%. So let's say that your limit for your credit card is $1,000. You want to try and keep your utilization around 300 or less. So you don't want to max it out every month, especially if we go to run your credit. Let's say you're buying a house. We don't want to run that credit when your cards are maxed out because your utilization is completely used up.
At 100%.
At 100%, right.
So let's say you spend more than $300 a month, which most of us do.
Yeah.
Like, do you just recommend having multiple credit cards and then doing 30% utilization for each of those credit cards?
So that's actually a really good question. And it kind of depends on your personal situation. My personal advice and what I would do is, if you know you're gonna have your credit run, make sure you pay it down before your credit is run. So if you guys are buying a house and we run your credit, I would recommend paying it to under 30% utilization, maybe a week or 2 before, if you can.
So don't go on a shopping spree at the Galleria right before you're gonna get your credit run by a lender.
Or buy it cash. So the key is just everything comes up on the credit report, you guys. Like Julia was saying, you can't cheat the system when it comes to this. So you wanna keep that utilization under 30%, or like you were saying, you can have a couple different credit cards to kind of help spread that out.
Awesome. That's really good advice.
Yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so any other tips?
Yeah, so actually talking about spreading out your accounts, so you need to have credit history. Credit history, and you need to have open lines of credit. So what I always like to tell people is, what was your first credit card?
Like what company?
In history, yeah.
Oh, I don't know, some kind of like Capital One.
Okay.
Yeah.
So mine was a Target card when I was in college, because that was literally the only place we shopped. And I keep that Target account open because it's my longest standing account. So whatever account you guys have that's been open the longest, try to keep that open. If there's an annual fee, maybe you can look at options, but if there's no annual fee on your cards, try and keep that open for your credit history. If you don't have credit history, I would recommend starting to build it. So signing up for a card of some sort.
Yeah. And I get people that like reach out to me and they're like, oh, well, my credit's really good because I don't have any credit cards. And I'm like, that's not good.
No,
like,
big myth. Yeah, big myth. You need to actually be using credit. And I know that there are some people that don't really agree with that. And there are so many, financial methods out there that preach cash, and that's great, but not everybody has cash to do everything in their life, and that's okay. So you guys need credit history. You need to have some sort of revolving credit, and it doesn't have to be anything crazy. There's so many options, and that's a whole other video too. But you need open accounts and keep your longest standing one open.
So yeah, that's all really, really good advice. And again, I know that you've seen me in videos with Cori before, and she's kind of my go-to girl and the person that I recommend to my clients. And trust me, like, she is on top of it. So if your goal is to purchase a home this year in 2021, which it should be, sorry, those are my kids. I told you, this is very unplanned, okay? But if your goal is to purchase a home in 2021, which it should be, because we could do another video on how much purchasing a home versus renting saves. But, definitely reach out to her with any questions, and maybe she can give you some additional tips that this video can't. And hopefully we can be your dream team when you make that next big boy or girl step.
Cheers to that.
Cheers.
And look at our mugs. They're Julia's, but they're cute.